Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Master RKO, and today I'm bringing you guys another video that's going to be updating us on the current foundation of how League play is going. As we know, recently there was an update about a month ago that said that League play would be coming up at the end of January, and it seems that Treyarch is going to be delaying us a little bit more with League play. With the most recent update and some patch notes that have been explaining the way that League play has been swapped around and some new things, because they've really just been listening to the community in the way that they've been kind of had a negative opinion about their certain ideas for League play. So they switched a few things around. They've been testing it, making sure it's going to work. They do have some a list of things that are going to be going on and some of the tests that they're running. We're going to take a look at those real quick. As well as a few additions that they've already made to the game that are going to make playing and practicing a little bit smoother, and then leading into League play, the newer things that they're going to be adding that they switched around for you guys, since a lot of us weren't really fond of their current setup. So let's go ahead, hop over to their website, and we're going to go ahead and take a look and see what they were doing. So as you can see down here, they've already added a few new things. I'm just going to be reading them off as we go through. So as you can see, more towards the top of the page, this is pretty much what you come to. They sent out a link for everybody to read. They're pretty much, they wanted to wait until after the Pro League qualifiers to really get to working on League play and all that sort of stuff. They were focused on the event, stuff like that. Understandable. But by this point, I know a lot of fans, especially the pros, are starting to get a little frustrated, which is warranted. So they say here, first we huddled with the Call of Duty World League team as well as pro players. Some members of the team management to evolve. I'm going to move my microphone here for you guys a little bit so you can hear me a little bit better. Our goal is to more closely match how pros will play, while embracing the diverse tool set of Black Ops 4 that allows for those big and exciting plays that make the game so damn fun to watch. We believe these carefully considered updates will improve the future of competitive play for the pros on stage and more widely for our ranked players at home. So basically, these starting off are going to be the list of things that are going to be changed in the game right now. So if you go in and you play the CWL playlist, that's going to be changed. So first of all, the CWL Ruleset will go live in Black Ops 4 later this week. So this will be the updated CWL Ruleset. If you go on PlayStation, it's already updated. I don't know if it's updated on Xbox yet. It probably is. But if you're playing scrims, you're practicing, you're playing 10s, you're playing GB, stuff like that, this is the new Ruleset. Everything has stayed the same except for these things. So Ajax has been fully restricted, Torque has been fully restricted, the Seeker drone for Profit has been fully restricted, the Reactor Core for Firebreak is banned, the Tac Deploy for Seraph is completely banned, not just in she doesn't just have it in control now, it's completely banned. And the Dart and RCXD score streaks have been banned. Now, most of these are the reasons of no one uses them anymore, mainly just in general, for the fact that they weren't really viable and with a lot of the meta. I mean, they had their perks, but at the end of the day, most of the people were using the same 5 or 6 specialists, and there was really no need to use them. And the fact they got nerfed even more with the CWL Ruleset, having a bunch of things from Ajax and Torque not really do any damage, that made them even less viable. And at the end of the day, they're just not needed. I mean, they're like for Firebreak, his Reactor Core is there, so you can still use him with his Purifier. Prophet, the Seeker, was never ever used except for in some Pro Point matches, which even then people were complaining about it. His Tempest are still there, obviously, and Seraph with her Annihilator, she's still there. So it's not like those specialists are banned. Their secondary abilities are banned for now. Most people didn't use them because they're either running stuns, grenades, or trophies anyway with those players and their play styles. So really they weren't used at all. And even when they weren't really the greatest. A lot of teams, especially, that tried to use them online. I mean, even in Pro Points games that I've played and intense matches that I've played, if you use those types of score streaks or those types of abilities, they really hindered your team and they weren't really doing anything for you. So for them to be taken out, especially the full restriction for Nomad is still the same, so he's not going to be in at all. And then the rest of those restrictions have also been added. Additionally, for Zero, because a lot of people were complaining about Zero being kind of broken with her tool set, both her Ice Pick and her EMP Disruptor and any future specialists will remain banned in competitive play until agreed upon through the organization. So that basically means if they come out with any other new specialists, unless they are completely agreed upon, they will stay banned regardless. They're going to start off banned when they're brand new, and as they get brought back in, they're going to be looked at, worked on, stuff like that, but they're going to remain banned regardless until they're agreed upon by the pros, by the organization, stuff like that, which is fine because no one used Zero in the first place. She immediately got gentleman's agreemented, and that was pretty much the end of Zero. Personally, I still don't see the big hoo-ha about Zero. I don't think she's that broken. In fact, a lot of times, like, unless you're using a high score streak and it gets hacked, which even then, it's not that big of a deal. She just wasn't that strong in my opinion. A lot of people had problems with her. I don't. I've played many games that she's been in, and I've had zero problems with her. So, I don't know, but she is currently completely banned now. They also state, with these new restrictions in place, players who choose Prophet, Firebreak, or Seraph will still be able to equip trophy systems, combat axes, frags, molotovs, or concussions in their equipment slots. These changes are a direct feedback and coordination with the competitive community, and we can't wait to see how it all plays out in ranked play and at future CWL 2019 events. So basically, they talked to the community, they talked to the pros, and this was all agreed upon. So it's not like they just went against the professionals or the community. This is pretty much a public, agreed upon stipulation. So there you go. Moving on through the evolution of league play, and this is where we get really down to the nitty gritty and where this video might take a little long, but it's okay. It starts from the top. It says, aside from the new rule set, we're also making fundamental changes to how we're approaching league play and the World League Hub based on feedback of the competitive community, particularly the ranked fans at home who gave us detailed responses on what they enjoyed about previous iterations of league play and how Black Ops 4's competitive offering could change for the better. So basically, they talked to people at events especially, but even in the community, and anybody's ideas that they had. They've been doing this on Twitter and everywhere for the past month or so. Anybody that had an idea and it could be basically communicatively talked about, they added it in, went over, seen if they could do it, and tested it out. It says, we know how many of you loved basically the Black Ops 2 League play and considered it the gold standard. We're big fans too. However, we're also aware of the problems that were inherent in the design, being it their very first in-game competitive feature, launched back in 2012. So they're basically saying, we understand that League play back then is basically the standard that everybody holds their stuff to. However, there's a reason why they're wanting to change stuff. Let's see. At roughly 1 month intervals, League play seasons were too long, resulting in high volume of inactivity players and dead ladders, which is basically ladders are the thing that you'd move up and down in your rank, stuff like that back in Black Ops 2, which is understandable. You get to a certain area, and then basically because their seasons were a month, and after a couple of weeks of playing, you wouldn't want to play anymore because you might drop rank, stuff like that. So they're basically changing that. Players who missed out on significant portions of the season felt like they had no way to catch up, which then also led them to stop, and thus the dead ladder problem. So basically, either players were they would stop playing because they were so high of a rank after a couple weeks, and they would stop playing, or players that, you've got school, stuff like that, or work, and you can't play and you can't catch up, so then you would stop playing, and thus again, people aren't playing. League play is a lower population playlist relative to the rest of multiplayer, so they're basically just acknowledging that there's not going to be as many players, and as such, basically queue time for matchmaking can be a longer range, and is also going to get even more of a range between the divided divisions. Ladder groupings were too large, leaving many participants feeling disconnected from most of the players they were competing with for position. So basically back then you were in the same divisions as people, but you never really played against them, even though technically you were. So they're acknowledging that. And of course, the division ranks were directly tied to each player's skill rating under the hood, which meant that most players settled into a rank early, and it was frustrating not being able to change that skill rating over time. So basically, back then, because it was so like cut and dry, once you got placed into a position, unless you played so much that you could jump up and down, like I remember I would jump up and down between like silver, gold, platinum, and then drop back down to gold, back down to silver, bronze, up to silver, like just because you'd play a few games. But once you, for a lot of players, once you settled in, like you couldn't get out of silver or gold just because you played so much and other people were playing so much. So with every new design of a system, we start by identifying the problems to solve from the previous iterations, and the League play system in Black Ops 4 has been designed to avoid these shortcomings and accomplish some new key goals. So here basically there are goals for League play coming up. Running League play events more frequently and a shorter duration makes ladders feel more meaningful, feel like more meaningful competitions, and constant movement against a smaller pool of competitors. So basically, they're going to lessen how many people are in a pool, and they're going to have the time to rank up a shorter duration. So that way, it doesn't feel like you're having to play all the time to get your rank. It's going to be short. And also the divisions are going to have smaller amount of players, so maybe that means more divisions, or maybe that means they're going to have a group inside of a division, and you can rank up through that. I don't know. Events are condensed and timed to drive the highest player counts and achieve healthy matchmaking with a faster time to find matches. So basically, the events that they're going to have, because I think they're going to do the weekly events, where it's basically going to be 3-day events, not necessarily weekly. Those are going to be condensed down so that way the events are shorter. So it's basically like a event. You're going to play for 3 days. Those 3-day events are going to be how you rank up, and it's basically going to feel like an event. You're going to feel like you're playing like the pros do. Shorter duration events more closely match to how pros compete in weekend tournaments, like 2Ks, which 2Ks, for those who don't know, are Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or normally like Saturday, Sunday, and they play for 2,000 pro points, and all the pro teams get in, some amateur teams get in. You can play on game battles all the time, and basically they're these big online tournaments for pro points. Our intent is for the events in the World League Hub to feel closer to how the pros compete. Ladder competitions will feel familiar. Climb the ladders by winning ladder points, but lose ladder points, and you may drop position. The goal with each ladder play event is always to end as high on the ladder as possible. So basically, they'll have an event for your ladder. You get so high up on it, and I don't think it's necessarily going to be like, oh, you get first, second, or third. They might do something where it's like, oh, you get top 10 in your ladder, you move on, or you rank up, or you do whatever. Now, this is where it gets cool. We're also introducing a new progression rank system that persists across all individual League play and World League Hub events. Here's how it'll work. So, over the course of your competitive career, you'll advance a permanent rank that reflects your performance across all events. Performing better in events and participating more often will result in a faster rank progression. So basically, in League play, you're going to have kind of like your regular XP leveling, to where you're going to rank up in a system. The higher you place in an event, the more XP you'll get, or whatever. The lower you'll place, of course, the lower you'll get. And that just continues to build over the extent of Black Ops 4. So basically, you'll have a way of showing, oh, hey, I'm this division rank, but I've also placed this, constantly. And hey, you're gold, but you're rank 23 out of 100 levels or something, so people know where you're at. Final placement in ladders determine how you advance your overall rank, giving ladder events a competitive tournament feel, with the most credit given for reaching first place and winning a League play event. Now, they don't know I'm not too sure about how this is going to work. I don't know if you're going to have like a certain amount of wins or losses to get in, or if you're basically going to be playing against the other division members over a weekend, or how that's going to work, or if you're going to hop into a place, and like I have no idea how this is going to work, because it basically says reaching first place in an event, and it's going to be like a tournament setting. So maybe if you play and you win, you get a certain amount, and then the more you play, I don't know how it's going to work. So that's still to be agreed upon. But it says first place, landing in first place, your rank will be upgraded permanently to reflect your victory. Further upgrades are possible for multiple first place finishes and a streak indicator that is displayed when you place first in back-to-back events. So basically, if you place first and then you place first again, it's going to keep a tally of how many times you place first. So maybe in your division, you're gold, but it'll show that you won an event like 4 or 5 times. So basically, you are gold rank in your division, but you're a really like when people get into a game, they'll know, oh man, this guy, he places high during events. Still don't know how the events are going to work. It says matchmaking in the World League Hub will always be prioritized by skill, so competitors will feel competitive at their skill level. So skill-based matchmaking, we still don't know how they're going to go about that. I'm hoping they do like an Overwatch thing, or at least something like that, because it felt like the last couple of years playing League play, it was more trying to make the team more balanced instead of just having players of the same rank play one another. So we'll see how that works. I don't know. Let's see. It says here, against this backdrop, we want our fans to know that we've heard them loud and clear to the desires of how rank play, or to have rank play available all the time. So basically, they were going to have just a scrim thing where you could play during the week and it didn't matter for your rank, and then you could play on the weekends, and then that was going to be the only time where it happened. They were just going to have 3 to 4 day events, which is what they're talking about there. So they're actually changing the intervals in which the events are going to be applied. Basically, they were pretty much designing it to kind of take off that layover time. But now they're doing something called a World League Gauntlet, a feature which will not be ready to launch alongside the World League Hub. Hence the reason for the initial announcement of a scrims period of a downtime during the gap. So basically, they announced the scrims thing just as a cover for another idea they were going to add later in the year, basically. It says, due to popular demand, league play at launch will include events that span across the full week, removing scrims from the ranked schedule until we're ready to go live with the World League Gauntlets, which will also allow you to contribute to your rank by completing a longer series of wins before striking out with 3 losses. So basically what the Gauntlet is going to be is all throughout the week you can play and get a certain amount of wins, but if you lose 3 times, your Gauntlet is over. Now, whether that means once you do that, you can't play ranked anymore until the weekend, I don't know. But basically, the way they're saying it is, you'll be able to play during the week, and as long as you're getting on a win streak, your rank will continue to rise. But once you lose 3 times, maybe after you lose 3 times, you just have your scrims and it no longer contributes to your rank anymore, which would honestly be pretty cool, because then you'd basically have 3 losses to try to get as many wins as you can. And then once you get 3 losses, you're not going to drop too far. And then you have the events, to where if you do bad in the events, then you start dropping even more. So who knows? It says you'll also earn multiplayer XP and black market tier progression as you play ranked, so there's never a moment lost as you compete for a rank. So basically, if you want a prestige and you want to get black market stuff, and you really hate playing pubs like me, you'll be able to rank up and prestige and do all that while playing ranked play. So basically, where I'll be from the time on, because after so long of playing the same public matches, you just want to play the ranked matchmaking. So you could still get your leveling up, stuff like that, the same way that you could back in World War II, so that's good. Support for teams and clans will be added later on in 2019, and that's pretty much what the thing will look like. They're going to add the World League Hub, and this continues because it's basically going to be a fourth pillar of the core gameplay offerings. They say, because we're invested in additional time and development into making Black Ops 4 competitive play as robust as possible, the World League Hub will serve as the fourth pillar. This means you'll see a new main menu when you boot up with the World League as its own showcased mode between multiplayer and Blackout. So, and basically what they're going to do is the CWL custom game modes is going to move to the World League playlist instead of multiplayer. So if you want to play tens and you want to practice and you want to scrim, you go to the World League Hub and get everybody in there, so you don't have to keep creating a class and creating a game type every single time you go into multiplayer. They just wanted to make practicing for all these players easier, which I like. So the rule set and everything will already be there. This makes competitive games. This means competitive games will be faster and easier to play. And it consolidates all Pro Series competitive play into one location. So it's all going to be there. Given these changes to the World League to the league play structure, we're taking a few extra weeks to implement and test new changes. And as you can see in bold, it does say that the major update is planned for mid-February. Yes, I know. More delaying, but honestly, the fact that they listened to the community about the ideas that they wanted, and now they're testing them to make sure they're going to work, I am okay with this. The problem is that if it comes out in February and anything doesn't work, Treyarch's trust will basically be blown. Like, Treyarch has always had such a good job, especially with League play, because they were the first ones to bring it in. They've always made really, really good games. And everybody's pretty much put everything on Vonderhaar and the Treyarch community and the Treyarch organization to make these great games. And they've pretty much been like the holy grail. Like, they're put on a pedestal above the other three, or the other two. And if you go this long without League play, and then you bring it out, and it doesn't work, it's broken, something's weird with it, there's glitches, stuff like that, your trust is going to be blown, and people are going to start falling off of the game. So, if it takes this long, and it works, and it runs great, and it plays great, and the system's great, all more power to them to take this long. I would rather them get it right the first time. So hey. And they do say, because this is part of a larger game update with a lot of moving pieces between developers, publishers, and first-time party platforms, the specific day of the release is still being finalized with all parties in the release process and will be announced as we get closer to it. League play will be an even better experience for ranked play and pro players, with a new competitive rule set and addition of CWL custom games and ranked play progression for every day of the week. To get everyone prepped for League play until then, and here's where we get some interesting fun, we are planning to launch a limited time Pro Series Mosh Pit public match playlist later this week, where all players use the updated competitive rule set. Restrictions on specialists, maps, modes, weapons, equipment, attachments, perks, score streaks, wildcards, and gear will reflect the rules governing League play. So this is the perfect time to set up your favorite new competitive classes before our first League play event kicks off. Because this is a playlist for public matches and not a part of the World League Hub, it will use public matchmaking rules, it will be unranked, and will not support skill-based matchmaking, and will allow players to join matches in session. So later this week, I don't think it's in right now. I'm going to take a look. We've still got this up. And then it still lists a whole new thing about the CWL Fort Worth, which if you will be at Fort Worth, I will be there as well. But I don't think they've added that playlist in yet. No, because they've still got the Endurance Chaos, the Hardcore, the Gun Game Safeguard, stuff like that. So that playlist has not been added yet. That will come later this week. However, basically it means that there is little to no excuse on anybody that comes out when League play comes out to say that you don't have your classes prepped, that you don't have the map stuff, practice, stuff like that, because you're literally going to have 2 to 3 weeks to completely prepare for League play before League play comes out. So basically, my final theory of the way things are going to go is basically it sounds like during the week they're going to have this gauntlet, and as you're moving through the week, you're going to be able to play as much as you want, and with every win, it's going to bump your rank up a little bit. Now, as an increment, I don't know what they're going to use, but just as an example, say, you play in your turn and in the events, and you get 100 points towards whatever your rank is per win, and you lose 100 points for every loss, and then you get like 1,000 points if you win the event. Second place you get 500, third place you get 200 for your divisions, and so on and so forth. So those are your main points, but who's to say during the week when you run this gauntlet you may get like 50 to 25 points per win, and as long as you're winning you can continue to rank up and get yourself as high as you possibly can before the event. That way maybe you have an advantage when the event comes out, or maybe you're just like, instead of being so far off of a placement to get to the next division, maybe you're even closer to your next division, so it's not as hard. But once you lose 3 times, you're done. Now, by done, I think what they're going to do is once you lose those 3 matches, you can still play. Your rank just won't matter. Now that could affect the way it goes, and they may still have the public matchmaking thing in there. I don't know. But the weird thing that could happen is if you have these matches to where you're having people thrown in where their rank doesn't matter because they've lost 3 times, that could be a whole thing where you're getting players that don't care, and then they start throwing matches and they start running weird stuff. At least with the 3 losses, you for those 3 losses, you're always going to have people that are trying. So maybe they just kick you out when your 3 losses are done and you just can't play until the weekend. Honestly, I'd be okay with that as long as there was something else you could play, unless there's going to be a completely unranked playlist for people to play once you're out. Either way, as long as there would be a way for only people that have 3 losses to play with people who have 3 losses, and people who are still competing to play against people who are still competing. That way everyone is still trying, because if you're only in a group, as long as you're getting wins, every single time you lose, you're going to be trying harder to make sure that you don't get that loss. So that's going to keep people actually trying in-game. You're not going to have leavers, you're going to have stuff like that, because if you leave, it's going to affect your rank tremendously. Whereas in previous iterations of stuff like this, leaving really doesn't do anything. You get banned for 15 minutes. Oh darn, you play another one. So, big thing there. The update really didn't bring too much. There wasn't like a major update. That'll be coming probably the 2nd or 3rd week of February, so we have to wait a couple more weeks. Once again, though, if it works, it works. I'm not going to complain about it. The other thing that was added, we're actually going to go ahead and hop into our own custom game, because there was something else that was added that I do want to point out. And this is something that's honestly been begged for the longest time. And if you are a competitive player and you are a player that plays Hardpoint a lot, you will know what I'm talking about. So we'll go ahead and swap over here. Now take a look when we spawn up in the left middle area. So like, I can't really point there, but it's going to be like that direction. So as you can see, once you load up, these are already like anything that's already being used, you cannot use. Now if you have the equipment down there, it'll already be selected, so you can't mess with it. But a lot of things are already restricted, so you can't use them. All the things that are on there are already restricted, so you can't use them. However, I don't even think you can use 0. However, if you take a look real quick, in that middle left underneath the map, you see a 5-minute mark, which is amazing. But there's also a 50-some second timer, which shows you how much time is left in the Hardpoint hill. Thank God, because we have been pushing for this for so long to have the actual timer over there in the corner, so that way you can see how much time is on the hill and how much time is left in the game. The timer was always over there, but there was never a hill time, so you always had to try and like angle towards the hill. Like if you were running this way, you had to basically find where the hill was, and you couldn't even aim at it. And even then, like this, you can't see that. You wouldn't have no idea how much time's left on the hill. So as you're running towards this and you get a little bit closer, it would slowly start to fade out. You wouldn't know how much time's on the hill. You wouldn't know where to press. So finally, they have a time to where once it hits that 0, it's going to swap, it turns over, and you see the time back up. So they added that in as well. So that is a fantastic, fantastic addition. I'm glad they finally did that, so that way it makes Hardpoint a little bit easier to strategize and you're not looking to anything weird. But this video has gone on for a really long time, so I'm going to go ahead and end it here. So thank you all for watching. If you like this, click the like button below. Leave a comment if there's anything else you want me to go over, especially with League Play slowly coming up. We can finally get back into the League Play Academy and start looking more at some of that stuff. We've just been on so much of a hiatus just because we haven't known when League Play is coming out yet. Leave a comment below, and if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Adios.